Hello, and welcome to the podcast that knows, despite the push notifications we get all day telling us that the world is burning down around us, there is still good being created in the world, and we want to highlight it. Whether it's nonprofit leaders solving the world's biggest problems or a small business owner trying to make the world better with a great product or service, we want to highlight the ideas and strategies behind the good that's being made. So without further ado, you're listening to Creating Good, a podcast by Rogue Creatives hosted by me, Matt Barnes. Let's go. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, and welcome to Creating Good with Matt Barnes. I'm Matt Barnes, and we got a great one for you today. We've got a lot going on with Creating Good. We are actually getting ready to launch our magazine in the next few months. It's going to be really, really cool, exciting. Just again, telling the stories of people who are out there creating good, and helping us spread the word about what we're doing here. Again, not trying to raise any money, nothing like that. We really just want to mobilize people to be intentional, to create good, because I don't know about you, I think our world needs it. So join us in the movement, help us spread the movement. Creatinggood.co, you can follow us on Instagram. Creatinggood.co is our handle there. Creatinggood.co is also our website. It makes it easy to remember. And you can go there and take the Creating Good pledge. We'd love for you to take it. It's just basically a simple pledge saying that you will use what you have to create good in the world. And we want to get 50,000 people or more to take it this year, so you can help us grow that number and tell your stories of how you're creating good. Simple things. It does not have to be big. You don't got to start. You don't have to start an organization. You don't have to do massive projects. You can. That's great. But just even in your neighborhood, as you're having conversations, how can we just create a little bit more good in the world? That's the big idea. That's how we do it. So today, I don't know about you. I have a background where I've done a lot of event planning. I've run a lot of things where there's just juggling a lot of balls and organizing things all at the same time, trying to keep track of stuff. And today, Julie Farrell is joining us. She is the founder of PlanHero. PlanHero is the easy way for businesses and nonprofits to organize their workflows, volunteers, and donations. They've created this amazing platform called PlanHero, and you really got to check it out. She worked in science and engineering through the 90s before moving into education and children's nonprofit organizations around Santa Barbara. And when she's not running PlanHero, she's a self-employed digital marketing consultant. So she's my kind of people. She's doing awesome stuff. She's trying to make it easier for people to create good, giving them tools and resources. Well, I'm here with Julie Farrell from PlanHero. Julie, thanks so much for coming on the podcast today.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, Matt.
Absolutely. I want to get into everything about you and PlanHero and what you're doing. But before we do that, we have a segment that we always start with called 3 Random Questions. And so I've got a list of many, 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 many random questions, and we have a randomizer that randomly chooses 3.
Okay.
Are you ready?
I think so.
And I'm going to try my best not to judge your answers, but I probably will. Here we go. What is your favorite film series and why?
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna have to say it, Harry Potter.
Oh, okay. Why? What do you love about Harry
uh,
Potter?
Sadly, yeah. And by the way, I'm 59, and I'm saying Harry Potter.
Who cares?
So judge away.
Young at heart. Young at heart.
Yeah. I just like the good versus evil thing, and that good wins out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of good empathy, but a lot of excitement, and I like the heroism in it.
Yeah.
I always like, a lot of courage, and there's probably a teeny tiny bit of Hermione in me, and
There you go.
actually, her sister calls me that. She's
Okay.
like, "Oh, like turn it down a little bit, Hermione." So, there's probably some of that. So I'm going Harry Potter.
Nice. Did you read the books or just watch the movies?
So we have 2 boys,
Okay.
and we used to drive from Santa Barbara up to Oregon every summer.
Mm-hmm.
And I did that frequently by myself with the kids, and so we would actually listen to them
Yeah, the audiobooks. Yeah.
on the audio, yeah, because I wanted them to be looking out and see nature, but occupied. And the voices were so fantastic
Really?
on the CDs, yeah, back in the day,
Oh, yeah.
Bluetooth, free audibles, and they were fantastic. So we would go for like 4 hours and not want to stop to go to the bathroom because we wanted to keep hearing what was going on. So
Yeah. Yeah.
we quote unquote read them, and then of course watched the movies.
Sure.
So
Sure. I can usually tell how old somebody is when we talk about audiobooks, because if they're a little older, we still will say book on tape. even though it hasn't been on tape since the 90s. Uh,
Yeah. I just barely managed my way to make myself sound old in that, but or I mean, younger than that, but I've already revealed my age, so I'm in deep already.
I do it all the time. I always, oh yeah, book on tape. And they're like, kids are like, what are you talking? What's a tape?
Yeah. It's like masking tape, yeah.
Oh man, we're old. We're old. Okay, you're on a desert island for the rest of your life, and you can have one music album. What is it going to be?
Ugh. Okay, hang on one second.
It's
Um,
a hard one.
yeah, it, um oh my god, I'm having trouble remembering what uh, Goldberg, and it's it's Bach variations, and I'm not thinking of the right name of it, which is terrible. But it's piano and it's incredible. So that's a possibility, and that would be contrasted probably with greatest hits from the Stones.
There you go.
So
So one to get you going and one to relax you.
yeah, sorry, it's the Goldberg variations is what it's
There it
called.
is.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, but it's there's a lot of energy in that too. So
Okay.
just yeah.
Okay. Last question, and this one we probably could do a whole podcast on. Actually, what was the best year of your life so far, and why?
Oh, that is an awful
I
question.
know, isn't it? Blame my
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, I'd like some email addresses
Hmm.
after this.
I'll send
Um,
them through.
I honestly have no idea. I honestly have no idea best year of my life. Because I'm kind of an eternal optimist, not kind of, you either are or you aren't,
Yeah.
right? So I'm very much an optimist, and so I feel like I wake up in the morning and think, okay, this is going to be my best day yet. And so I'm going to go out and make it my best day yet. So I can't really think of one year that was the best ever. Um, I honestly cannot. So
Yeah.
I offer no help there.
I think that's
Of
a
no,
great answer.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer. Yeah, I could definitely pick out years that like stand out as great years, but that doesn't mean the other ones weren't. And there's other, just, obviously like year I got married, or year I had my kids, well, the several years that I had my kids, all of that. But there's been so many. Yeah, it is hard to put a put a pin in one and just pick it. But great. Okay. Well, I want to know about you. What is your origin story? How did you start? Where did you start? And how did you get to where you are now?
Okay. So my background is in tech.
Oh, okay.
So I was one of those early female engineers before there was such a thing as STEM
Yeah.
and anything cool about it. There was nothing cool about it at all. Um, some of my girlfriends in my sorority would actually come to my classes with me just to see how nerdy it was.
Yeah.
So uh, so my background is really in tech, and because I liked people and also liked to write and communicate, I ended up in management pretty quickly. And studied mechanical engineering at UC Santa Barbara. Was in aerospace, worked on missile launchers.
Wow.
After that, then industrial lasers, and then I became a full time mom. And that was by choice, and I had an opportunity to do that.
Yeah.
Uh, but when I did that, I also became a full-time volunteer.
Sure.
And I found that there were a lot of inefficiencies in volunteering and sort of the nonprofit world that I was exposed to. And so I kept people keep shoving stuff my way. No, you do it. You did a good job last time. It was sort of that awful thing where if you did a good job, you could never get rid of it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so my thinking was there had to be a better way to skin the cat of managing volunteers.
Yeah.
And so that's really where PlanHero was born. We actually started out as mom clone with the idea of, gosh, I need to clone myself. And
Yeah.
that was obviously a gender specific
Yeah.
phrase and not terribly inclusive. And we kind of knew that, but statistically that at that time that
Sure.
it was still mostly women were volunteering at a higher rate than men.
For sure.
So Anyway, we ended up pivoting. We're PlanHero now, and the whole idea with it was to save time for busy people. And really initially it targeted at anything to do with the nonprofit world, whether it's education, um, uh, um, in the healthcare area, faith organizations, sports teams. But we also have a very big segment that are for-profit customers as well.
Oh, really? How does that apply?
Yeah. Well, a good example would be hiring interviews,
Mm,
for larger organizations where they need to hire a lot of people at one time.
yeah.
Uh, so you might have 15 people signing up for, a sous chef position
Hmm.
at a large organization, and they've got a series of people who will interview them. It's sort of mass hiring kind of,
Okay.
events. So we do that very well with our time spots. And also it's easy for us to have multiple locations with different time spots
Yeah.
and different dates. So we've kind of coordinated all of that. So that's another area that's good. Real estate people use us for distributing leads,
Hmm.
gets to be on the floor, that kind of thing.
Interesting.
It really runs the gamut.
Yeah.
And then there's the small businesses of personal training, um,
Right.
coaching, life coaches, that kind of thing.
Okay.
We're using schedule times. Yeah.
All right. Very cool. And how long have you been doing this?
6.5 years.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
So, obviously, volunteering is just such a huge piece of nonprofit work. Well, most of the time, when the organization calls for that, but it's right up there with fundraising, with one of the harder things to figure out how to do well, manage it well, develop volunteers, and make them feel appreciated, all that kind of stuff. So, what is, I guess, what's the approach for Plan Hero, and how does it help people with that?
Um, Great question. And um, to your first point about volunteers for almost all nonprofits being so important. I mean, I read a survey recently, or it was a research paper, but it was like the top problems for nonprofits to solve are limited staff capacity, difficulty recruiting,
Hmm.
retaining, um, and yeah, those are the, like, top out of the top 3, those are the 2 of the top 3.
Yeah.
And if you think about that in terms of volunteering and using volunteers to help augment that overburdened staff,
Right.
it becomes really critical, right? So for us, what we with Plan Hero, the idea is that we can help you organize your volunteers so that they're working very efficiently. And if they're working efficiently for you, then they're probably happy
Yes.
because they know that you're not wasting their time. You know that you're not wasting their time.
Yeah.
It puts some structure and around the whole function of the volunteer
Right.
area.
Right.
So we by using us, for example, instead of just saying, "Hey, our big event or big gala or whatever, we're cleaning up the park next week."
Yeah.
Let's say that's what it is, right?
Yeah.
So instead of just showing up, right,
Yeah.
from sometime coming between 8 and 4,
Right.
so I've shown up at those kinds of things, and I've stood around twiddling my thumbs thinking, they don't need me here.
Hmm.
They don't have anything for me to do,
Right.
and that's incredibly irritating.
Of course.
So, like, I'm not gonna come back because I don't think you're organized with what you're doing, and/or I don't think you need me.
Yeah.
And probably not gonna donate to you either because that makes me think that that's how you're running your organization too,
Sure.
which is just bad all the way around. I
Yeah.
mean, for organization where if instead it's I've got a sign up out there, I can sign up online and, oh, look, they've got them in 2-hour intervals and I get to pick one of the 5 jobs that are available. It's raking, it's picking up trash, it's painting the little something that's there, the picnic tables at the park.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, but it's set out and I can pick what I want and I know that I need to bring my shovel with me
Yeah.
or, the plant plants, whatever that is. But it's all broken down and I know that I can go there from 2 to 4, bang that out, feel really good about myself for
Yeah.
helping, know that I helped them, and still make it to my kid's soccer game, which is in the morning,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's kind of the overarching, they do well, we do well,
Yeah.
right? They get everything done that they need done. It's organized, and that's, I mean, that's a very simple example of the kind of thing that we do.
But it's great because like you said, like if I show up at that thing, my main business is a creative agency, and we work with a ton of nonprofits, and which is why we started all of this. We really want to just resource nonprofits because we love what they do. We want to help them grow and build that community. But we the need for volunteers is very real. Yet so often when I've showed up, I've had that experience like you're talking about, and everything you do as a nonprofit, everything you do as a for-profit, anything you do is whatever, tells the story of who you are, and either is a chance to bring people into that story or push them away from that story. And if somebody comes and has that experience, especially if it's their first experience, even if it's not, but especially if it's their first experience, you know,
Yeah.
you're losing opportunities to bring people into your story, and you never know. You never know what that person might bring. You might never, to help push your story forward and really help more people and do all of that. You really cannot afford to pass up those opportunities to bring people in, and yet the lack of organization is a big problem.
Yeah, but 100%. And I think, yeah, that can be a turnoff. And as you probably well know, given your work that you're doing, there's a huge overlap with, if you are volunteering for an organization, there's a very high correlation with you donating financially
Yes.
to the organization. I think it's a couple different statistics, 66% and 87%. It just kind of depends on which way you're reading it, but
Yeah.
it's well over half,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that person who's showing up there too, if they have a great experience and continue to, they're more likely when you reach out to donate some money to them, those folks are more likely to open up their wallet or
Absolutely.
Apple Pay.
Yeah.
Um, have a wallet.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
can't you have no cash and no checkbook? So
That's true.
thanks.
Yeah. Yes. Which is super convenient sometimes. I
Yeah.
forget my wallet all the time. But
Yeah.
no, you're absolutely right, and we want to remove any barriers from people, being able to be a part of these things because, obviously we're nonprofits are out there trying to solve the world's problems, and they're doing it oftentimes on a shoestring budget. They're oftentimes doing it with, overworked staff and all that stuff, which is our whole other conversations that I have all the time. But volunteers
Yeah.
have a chance to be brought into that, but you have to be so intentional with how you do that. And so many of them are just like, oh, those are our volunteers, and they have high turnover,
Right.
and it's a real problem.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned, the nonprofits are out there trying to change the world and solve the world's problems, right? So, classic example is someone who's great at working with, the unhoused population,
Hmm.
but they may be terrible with QuickBooks and not, fantastic with sort of the social work element and all of the psychology around
Yeah.
that and dealing with substance abuse and all of those things, but the ops side of it may be brand new. And if they're kind of just starting out, or even if they're kind of already plugging along, give out a questionnaire to your volunteers
Yeah.
that's a part onboarding process. Like, hey, what else do you do? Are you a QuickBooks guru?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because someone who could be at home, maybe they've got little kids, but they're a bookkeeper or they're running their own business and do QuickBooks on it. They could be doing that for the organization, and sorry, big word flag wave here. Make sure you can trust this person and with
Of
in
course. Of
your
course.
finances. Cuidado. Um, but uh that's the kind of thing that you have to think outside the box of how else can you use your volunteers,
For sure.
make sure that you know other things that other talents they may have that they could contribute, and very much on their own time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Social media, and I'm talking, a little bit more grassroots because I know
Sure.
you folks come in and do great things with the marketing, but just even from your perspective, uh, getting things like photographs from the organization that you
Totally.
can use campaigns that you're doing. Okay, do you have someone who just loves to do that? Who's a
Yeah.
volunteer? Let's find out what they can do. They'll be happy because they're sharing their great talent with you.
Well, and
S-
and social media, as long as you mention that, like, it's changed so much that it's become very difficult for someone like me or my team to be able to do that for nonprofits now because you got to be there. They want, it's about the reels, it's about the really current stuff and everything. And so, we've mostly stopped doing that for people, doing the social media aspect. We'll help them with strategy, but unless they really have the ability to provide us with good content on a timely basis, because nobody can afford to have us there full time, it's ridiculous. And
Yeah.
I wouldn't suggest they do that. So, but it is, you might have people who could be doing that for you and be capturing your events and the things that you're not going to pay somebody to come and do that, but you can get that stuff, and it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about the animal shelter
Yeah.
where they could be posting great photos of new animals that have come in that are ready for adoption. So you get the college kid or the kid from the community college or the high school kid who's the shutterbug or whatever. I'm sure that's an old term too. But, who comes in for an hour after school or in between classes to
Yep.
take some photos, and you're posting that stuff, and it's
Absolutely.
fantastic, and maybe that's the same kid who is gonna get nauseated if they try to clean a dog cage,
Yeah. Yeah.
but they love animals,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So, be creative,
Well, and
right?
and and it's
How you
and
get your
it's
volunteers.
it's helping people realize that there's not just one way to have a place in your story either. You know,
Right.
I know very often, like, a friend of mine who is very involved in a nonprofit, and her husband just kind of always, like, he cared about that, but it wasn't his thing, and he kind of felt like
Yeah,
he had nothing he could contribute there or whatever, and he's more of a business guy and all that. And then somebody there found out that he's a really successful business guy and called him up and, hey, can I get your advice on this thing for our, and he, oh yeah, and just realizing, like, oh, this is a way I can contribute when I can't
yes.
do the things she can do, but I can contribute in this way. And suddenly he's engaged and he's involved, and now as a family they're supporting this, and they're in each in their own ways. Whereas I think so often nonprofits will, and any organization with volunteers will sort of pigeonhole and say, okay, these are our three types of volunteers, or the three ways we let people volunteer, and
Right.
that's it, or even just one way, and you're cutting out a whole
Yeah.
bunch of people who that's not their thing, you know?
Exactly, exactly, and yet what your organization does is their thing,
Right.
like,
Yes.
what resonates with
Yeah,
them, right? So
they believe in the mission, and especially, in the situations where they don't have much, maybe, finances to offer on that side, but they can offer advice, or they can offer bookkeeping, or they can offer whatever it might be. Um,
yeah,
Interior design. I mean, it could literally, there's just so much. And, because we so believe in our nonprofits, our services aren't exactly always, the cheapest or anything, but we'll often work with them and work with volunteers or people that they have to say, okay, here's the idea. You go build that thing. Don't pay us to do it. You have volunteers that could do that part.
right,
So
right.
you can save money there. And because ultimately we want them to be successful. I don't want to be wasting their money,
No, 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 absolutely, and I mean, that's funny you say that because that's, whenever whenever we get on, Zooms with demos, it's like, Hey, we're gonna figure out if this is a good fit for you or not, and if it's not, we don't wanna waste your time 'cause,
Absolutely.
we're here to save you time, that's our whole mission, and
Exactly.
if this is not a good fit,
Absolutely.
nobody else, right? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense,
The
so
fit is very important. It's in so many ways, but it's really great. So what if some of the, I guess, outcomes that you've seen with the nonprofits that are using Plan Hero?
yeah, okay, so one of my favorites, is up in the Bay Area in California, and, they do it's called Grateful Gatherings,
Hmm.
and, and it was something I hadn't thought about at all. So, I mean, we're constantly seeing or hearing about the challenges with, unsheltered people,
Hmm.
right? So
Yeah.
mhm, experiencing homelessness. Um, so that's all sort of we know about that. They're
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of people working on that problem, which is fantastic. It's devastating. But the interesting thing, or this interesting story to me is, when you have found your way out of homelessness,
Hmm.
you've and you're being put into, let's say, an apartment,
Yeah.
through a number of agencies working together. Okay, so you move in, you've got a couple of kids.
Hmm.
You have nothing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You were living in your car or in a tent or wherever you were living,
Yeah.
and you have nothing. You don't have beds, you don't have curtains, you don't have towels, you don't have utensils,
Right.
plates, cups, any of that. So what Grateful Gatherings does is they work with agencies in the Bay Area, and they've got, I think, 9 chapters there, and they basically furnish whatever the new abode is for the people moving in.
Cool.
And and they use us because it's very easy to separate things, like, here's what we need for the bathroom, here's what we need for the kids' bedroom, here's what we need for, and it's all separated in a nice organized way. And then in addition, they've got the volunteer hours spread out. We need people from here to here, we
Oh,
want
nice.
this skill from here to here. And then they just shoot it out and everybody signs up. And it's super organized. They can spit out a CSV file or a PDF so that they know who's got, what.
Yeah.
We send out all of our auto reminders to them. It's auto synced to their calendar, so nobody forgets. And then we've got a messaging area where they can message everyone. So afterwards they can say, "Hey, thanks. This is super successful. Follow this link to see the smiling faces of the folks when they walked in, blah, blah, blah."
Oh, cool.
But yeah, and that's a particularly gratifying one, just because I love what they do.
Yeah.
They're absolutely changing lives. And they had used a competitor's platform previously and had become extremely frustrated with it.
Mhm.
So we're super happy that we're able to satisfy their needs,
Yeah.
and they've given us feedback along the way, and we've made changes to satisfy that. So it's just that's been a really nice marriage. Another one is a food bank down in Texas, and the guy who runs it's part of a church, and the pastor's in charge of it. And I happened to get to be on the phone with him one
Yeah.
time, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm sorry I didn't call you Pastor Earl." I just thought, that
Yeah.
was a little too casual. And he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. 10
Yeah.
years ago, I was smoking crack on the streets." And he was so cool. But he also is, I mean, he's out there with a food bank out on the streets feeding people.
Yeah.
And I mean, man, what a hell of a story.
Yeah.
So what we do then is we've got an ongoing schedule of who's showing up to help with the food bank and to, handing out the food, maybe picking food up from different places and placing it. Yeah. So he's this great guy who had been on the streets, I think probably in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and found his way back to a sober life and is now out with his food bank and just out there on the streets helping people get fed
Yeah.
nutritious meal, and I'm sure, coaching them into hopefully some alternative lifestyles.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so they use us to manage all of the volunteers
Very
for the
cool.
food bank over time at a couple different locations. So and it's cool. I think he's got one group that is sort of faith-based and another group of volunteers that is not faith-based. It's just, hey, let's just all
Yeah.
get in and help, and let's not worry about who's what,
Yeah.
and let's get done. So
Love it.
for me, it's super rewarding with PlanHero because um, we get to kind of see what people are doing. So when we hear all the vitriol on the news,
Yeah.
and I noticed on some of your previous podcasts, you talked about the I can't even say it.
The politicization.
Thank you. Yes. Politics entering everything.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's fun for me because I get to see both sides of the aisle, folks on both sides of the aisle
Yeah.
doing really good things.
Yeah.
And so it's just sort of like, okay, if we could get rid of some of the noise around everything, we could realize that there are really good people on both sides of everything doing great things for others.
Yeah,
So
politics is killing us all. It's a really sad time for that because I had David McNair from the One campaign on
mm,
a couple weeks ago, and we were talking about how the One campaign really started with people like Bono and stuff going to politicians and going like, look, we don't agree on any of these things, but we can agree on this one thing. Let's get something done. And now we're kind of in a place where that really can't happen much, but he was saying, he's like, but if you go to the people and you
yeah,
talk about these things away from politics,
yes,
you find that people still care. And if you don't, you can even use slightly different terms than the politicians are using for the same things, and you get them talking, you find out no, they actually do care. But if you use that word, then it's an automatic no because the politicians told them, they politicized that word, and so
right.
really,
That's a great point.
and when you
Yeah,
get them engaged just on a human level, politics doesn't matter. And it's more from that grassroots bottom up thing. And that is where engaging those volunteers, those donors is so just vitally important because that's where you're going to get that change, like and if politicians are going to do something, it's mobilizing citizens to make them do those things now. Because otherwise they just immediately, oh, the Democrats want that, shut it down. The Republicans want that, shut it down. Even if it's a good thing.
exactly, exactly. It's really terribly unfortunate.
It is.
Terribly unfortunate. And I follow a lot of it. But
Yeah.
I think it's all very interesting. I'm super interested in history
Oh yeah.
and how it come about. But I look at it also just from the ethos of being an American, and
Yeah.
they're built on helping each other out. I
Yes.
mean, and again, I just like clear away all the chaff and focus on what is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And the right thing to do is to help
Yeah.
your fellow.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
anyway, it's rewarding because I get to see that.
Yeah,
So
and you're enabling that. I mean, it is one of the things that nonprofits struggle with the most is how to engage these volunteers in a meaningful way and not just give them meaningful things to do, but make them feel like their time is valuable and that they're being respected and all of that. And to have tools that can help facilitate that when they're trying to do it all on a shoestring budget most of the time is such a great service that you're offering. I'm really excited to. I'm going to definitely check it out after this. I want to recommend it to some people because it's very much needed.
well, thank you. And if you
Yeah,
have any questions, you know where to find me.
absolutely. All right. Let's I always wrap up with a few kind of rapid fire questions. What do you think what are maybe the biggest challenge that you see, just one that's facing nonprofits today?
Yeah, I probably turnover.
Yeah.
I've been on a few panels recently with a lot of other folks, and I think it's probably turnover. And one woman who's a consultant was really clear about saying pay your people well, and another one had a great stat on um, what it actually costs you to replace a good person,
Yeah.
and I believe the person's salary plus another half, so it's 150%
Wow.
when it comes right down to it, when
Yeah.
you lose a person.
Yeah.
So, I listen, I've been on the board of directors on several nonprofits. I've been on a public school board of directors. I know how hard it is
Yeah.
to bring money in. It's something I can't stand doing. Actually, I really dislike the fundraising side of things. I know it's really hard, but you do have to when you have the right people. You got to figure out a way to keep them there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there somebody in the nonprofit sector that you really look up to or would love to take to lunch? Who would that be?
Ooh. I wish I had a brilliant answer for you, and I do not, because I'm so much more in the weeds now than I've
Yeah.
ever been. Um, that I'm actually kind of just a big um flag waver for the little guy.
Yeah.
Meaning the executive directors of these small nonprofits are out there fighting the good fight every day and working their tails off
Yeah.
for a lot of money. So I can't answer your question there. I'm sorry.
No worries.
Because those are the faces that come to my mind.
Yeah.
It's no one famous or running, the United Way or something.
Yeah. Last question. What in your job brings you the most joy?
Yeah, it's seeing what people are doing with their product
Yeah.
and knowing that they're doing good. My husband would be the first person to tell you that I'm not a crier, which I think that's much to his chagrin. Sometimes he's like, maybe there's ice in there. I don't know. But I tear up when I see what people are doing for other people.
Yeah.
Um, whether it's bringing meals for people, whether it's to uh, everything. It's almost everything people are doing
Yeah.
with our product. It's helping others in these really profound ways. And like I said, it's wealthy people, it's people who have no money, it's people who can't really put sentences together well,
Yeah.
trying to help someone.
Yeah.
It's all walks of life, and they're helping other people, and that just is incredibly rewarding to me, and it makes me tear up.
So great. That's so great. Well, Julie, thank you so much for being here. Where can people find more information about PlanHero and connect with you and all that?
PlanHero.com.
There you go.
It's a way to get us, and there's a contact area there. So if you have any specific questions, let us know. You can sign up for a free 15-minute demo. And we're not hardcore salespeople. It's if we can satisfy your needs, we'll do it. And if
Yep.
we can't, tell you that we can't.
Awesome.
So
Very
and
cool.
we're inexpensive too. We're
Well,
really inexpensive. So,
well, that's always nice for the
yeah.
nonprofits, right?
Yes. No ads and inexpensive. It's a good thing.
Oh, no ads is beautiful. All right. Well, thanks, Julie. I really appreciate it, and I wish you all the best of luck. I'm just so happy that you're doing the work you're doing and facilitating the great work that so many others are doing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
It's my honor.
absolutely.
Thank you.
Creating Good with Matt Barnes is recorded at Rogue Collective in beautiful Newport Beach, California. It's hosted and executive produced by me, Matt Barnes. Post-production is by our amazing friends over at Fame, the B2B podcast agency. Writing is by Matt Barnes and Taylor Bolanos from Rogue Creatives. Creative direction and design is overseen by Corey Hill of Rogue Creatives. Theme music is composed and performed by Jared Atherton of Chapters. Huge thanks to our amazing guests for joining us this episode, and thank you to all of you incredible listeners for tuning in. If you enjoyed the show, and I would imagine you did if you're still listening, so don't forget to help us spread some good by giving us a good review. Preferably like 5 stars, lots of really nice words. It's very helpful. Also, tell your friends and subscribe so we can come straight into your potholes each and every time we have a new episode. Take the Creating Good pledge on our website at creatinggood.co. We'll catch you next time. This has been a Rogue Creatives production.